Welcome to Verses and Visions Creative Conversations, where creativity and purpose meet to inspire and uplift. I'm Cassidy Beck, your host, here to explore the stories of artists, dreamers, and changemakers who are walking in faith and using their unique gifts to make a difference. Each episode is a reminder that your vision, paired with God's purpose, can transform the world around you. I am so excited to be welcoming Becky Kemp. Becky Kemp is a leadership speaker, author, and intentional language expert who empowers individuals and organizations to harness the power of words, unlocking joy, resilience, and success. Known for her transformative approach, the word effect, Becky helps audiences break free from limiting mindsets and embrace new possibilities. She has spoken to thousands through workshops, retreats, and conferences, sharing practical tools to create a more intentional life. As a certified life coach and a member of the National Speakers Association, Becky embodies leading with purpose. Her book, The Word Effect, 7 Simple Words to Create Your Most Beautiful Life, shows how shifting language can spark meaningful change in personal and professional settings. Through her engaging style and strategies, Becky encourages people to step into leadership one word at a time. Becky, I met you at a conference, and I also got the chance to listen to a workshop that you did. And I love your message. If we think about the creation was made through words. And that gives a different perspective on how vitally important words are.
If you think back of the creation, it all came about with words first, right? It was a thought first and it was created. Whether you're religious or not, anything brought into creation had to be a thought. It had to be an idea. And most of us as humans, our way of communicating is through words, ideas, sometimes verbally, sometimes in our head, but that's our language. So what I've come to realize, and I had to learn this for myself, was the words I talk about myself, say to myself, put out into the universe, have creative power. I need to be aware of that. If I'm not creating what I want, I can shift my words or become more intentional to create the life I want instead of just sitting on the sidelines. Words are powerful. Most of us agree, but we need reminders. And I need to remind myself of how powerful words are. Hence, that's where I've taken my passion to help others as I help myself.
Interesting. You are a leader. You are helping others step into that leadership. You also are a speaker and a life coach. Is there any time during your journey that you're like doubting yourself?
Yes. What I've come to learn is there's opposites. There's opposition in all things. When you have a creative idea, there's going to be that little nagging thing in the back of your mind telling you it's not a good. Let me give you an example. I was a mom of boys, and about 11 years ago, I just wanted a positive t-shirt. I go to baseball games. That was our sport of choice. I wanted to go to a baseball game and I couldn't find anything that I liked. So all of a sudden I had this creative idea, like, why don't you make some? Why don't you design some positive message t-shirts? And if you are looking for this, maybe someone else is looking for it. At that very time, I'd always been wanting to start my own business. I always wanted a creative outlet. I had this inspired thought, why don't you start creating this? But as soon as that came, the negative came. Who are you to create t-shirts? If someone wants t-shirts, they're going to go to the local department store. Why would anyone want what you have to offer? I'm so grateful at that moment I was able to go, because I want to offer it. I want to explore and play with this. And that was the start. I started a business called Becoming Threads, a positive t-shirt and apparel business. And that's when I really started to get some momentum of how powerful words were, was putting t-shirts out with a positive message. Keep it simple, or easy does it, grateful heart. Like, they were simple messages, just simple words. I could tell you story after story of imposter syndrome. As a speaker, you go with your message and you've prepared, but then you listen to everybody else and you think, wow. What I like to remind myself and offer to anyone listening is, what do you have to offer? We don't always have to come up with an original idea. We need to be authentic. When we become authentic, I realized with starting the t-shirt business, I didn't have to sell millions. That's not what I was looking to do. I was just looking for a creative outlet. It benefited a lot of people. Creation is fun and exciting, but as soon as we get that inspired idea, the opposition comes comparing ourselves to others. If you start to compare yourself, you always lose. Compare leads to despair. I have to remind myself of that when I start comparing my book to someone else's book. Theirs is so much better. Wait a minute. It's their stories and this is my stories. They're going to be different. The world would be boring if we all created the same thing. We need diversity.
I don't think I've heard it quite that way, that compare leads to despair. And I really like that idea.
I just want to say, I say that to myself on a regular basis when I feel myself, because what happens is you get a creative idea and immediately then you start comparing that to something else you've seen out there. When you start comparing yourself to somebody else, you always lose. They have more followers, they're more successful, they have better content, they're prettier, they're funner. So when you compare yourself to others, it leads you to despair. But when you compare yourself to where you were a year before, or where I was 2 years ago to where I am now, I can evaluate fairly and go, okay, this hasn't. I can stay in that creative space instead of the despair of imposter that I'm just never good enough.
So, what are things that you tell yourself to give you the bravery and courage to move forward?
The first step, and I walk people through the creation process in my book, but the first step is number one, becoming aware to the power of words. Like you have to have an awareness that they're powerful. You have to have an awareness if you want to change anything. If you don't think you want to change anything, you won't do anything. If you have a desire, start exploring it. A feeling I like to step into, and I offer as I coach people, is the feeling of curiosity. When you can stay curious to something, you're more open to trying things and open to failure. What if we turn failure into, instead of a bad word, what if failure is, I was going this way, thought it was this way, it failed, it's just not that way. Now I get to go another way. But we have to stay in a mindset of curiosity. If we make failure mean that we are less than as a human being, we always lose out. We think that nobody else ever fails, but we're the only ones. So number one, I would say curiosity and just becoming aware to words. And then when I notice like I'm comparing myself, what's my next step to get out of that? I acknowledge that I'm doing it. I start asking myself better questions. It's not like you just think positive every day and nothing bad happens. I live a real life with real challenges. Sometimes I get stuck in my thoughts again. The word effect I've offered in my book is 7 words. And these words are like the compass to keep you moving forward. So the first word's acknowledge. So a lot of times I have to acknowledge, oh, I'm starting to get negative. Do I want to stay here? The second word is ask. I start asking better questions. The third word is accept. I drop into acceptance. And it's becoming intentional to little phrases and catching those phrases and saying, okay, I'm going to focus here instead of staying focused here. It's managing my own mind, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. I love the idea so much of the words that we tell ourselves like matter and that they are so important. And I like that your first step is acknowledge. One life hack that I want to share with our listeners is from my sisters going into their houses, that they use the time in the bathroom as a teaching moment. And so by every toilet in my house, you have words, sayings, inspirational ideas, and things that nudge your kids in a direction without being repetitive, but they're seeing the same kind of positive messages every day.
I love that. I do that myself. Actually, I love to decorate with words. If you walked into my house, I have different sayings, different places in my office, little reminders. Words are a compass. We've become so accustomed to words that we almost brush by them or not pay attention. But that hack is so powerful because you don't even realize you're going to read the saying. You might not even internalize it, but it's doing something to your brain. The more you read things, the more you change. That's how powerful words can be. That's what I love about this concept. It's not hard. Anyone has access to the words they choose to focus on. So putting little intentional sayings is really powerful. One thing I love about words is a little phrase that really helped me. When I was trying to figure out where I was at and the direction I was going several years ago, and I found myself stuck, I got a strong impression from God that the power to change my life was within me. I was always looking for something outside to change my circumstances. If my husband did this, if my kids were this, if we had more money, if I was taller. God put on my heart this simple idea: change your words and you can change your story or your life. And that's what really got me starting to become intentional and aware to words. So I found myself in a lot of depression and anxiety when I was starting this journey. I heard these words on a documentary. They caught my attention, and it was, I accept myself unconditionally right now. I paused the documentary. Those words didn't resonate with me because I wasn't in acceptance with where I was at. I was always, when this changes, then I can be happy. So I rewound the documentary, jotted down the words, I accept myself unconditionally right now. I put it on a card and I put it in my bathroom on my mirror. Every day when I was brushing my teeth, I would say those words. They recommended you say those words to yourself 5 times in the morning, middle of the day, and evening. I knew I was consistent at brushing my teeth and I'd see them there. So I put them by my bathroom mirror. And every time I brushed my teeth, I would read those to myself. Nothing major happened the next day or the next day, but I kept doing it. Over time, I learned to accept myself unconditionally. Now, when I start comparing myself or feeling less than, those words come to mind. I accept myself unconditionally right now. And that's how powerful little phrases and words can be. When you walk by them, pause for a second, read them, say them to yourself, become intentional to them. Last year, I came out with this little, it's called Embrace Your Greatness, and it's a little flip book. I am statements are powerful. I am enough. I am creative. I am worthwhile. Fill in the blank. I am fabulous. I love to have those creative statements around me because what you think about, you bring about. I have my I am book in my kitchen and I look at it. And this week on one side, it says I am courageous. And on the other side, it says I am humble. All week long, I practice putting like, what does it mean to be humble? What does it mean to be courageous? And I find ways to make it applicable. I think writing things down and having those reminders is a powerful tool.
That's awesome. Besides these I am statements and the card on your mirror that says you accept yourself unconditionally, do you have other ideas of how we can decorate with words?
Along the way, when I see words, I put them in my life. I think if you become aware to words, you'll find different words. A couple ideas. I have one that says, make today amazing. And I have that in my kitchen. Every day when I walk by, I think, how am I going to make today amazing? Another one I love is we all have access to music. Make playlists, creative, joyful, happy, whatever. When you hear songs that make you feel that way, put them in that playlist. I have a playlist that when I'm going to speak, I play those songs and I put it on random. I don't have it in a certain order. I live my life as I'm like, God's going to put those words I need to hear today. It's an uplifting message. It has an uplifting beat. And it's really simple to just start becoming aware to the words that make you feel creative or that make you feel happy and start saving those for the next time. I can't tell people what words are for them. Mm-hmm. But what I say as I coach and speak is what words do you want to put on today? Mm-hmm. And become intentional to putting on words. There's one by my bed that says there's sunshine in my soul today. And it's just a plain big size thing that I saw at a boutique one time. And I love it. Every morning I wake up, I think, okay, I'm going to put sunshine in my soul today. And I just internalize those. I had a friend give me a sticker one time that said, you're doing better than you think. I like to put that by my office when I'm working. Sometimes I'm not feeling good. And then I see that sticker and I think, yeah, you know what? I am doing better. You might be surprised. You might already have a lot of words in your life. You're just walking by them and not noticing. You've got to notice them and go, why do I like those words? What do they mean to me? Let the words work in your life. Don't just walk by.
I think that's so interesting. One of the things I heard you say that I haven't heard before is you were talking about putting words on. Just like you change your clothes, you're going to decide what word you're going to put on. That resonates with me. I think that's a great idea.
And you know how that came was doing the t-shirt business. I did that for 4 or 5 years. Then I stepped into speaking and coaching. about words, I got to a point where I could choose the words I wanted to put on. I had 50 t-shirts. I could think, I need easy does it today, or grateful heart, or put on love. What I realized is that most of us spend more time thinking about what we're going to wear than what we're putting in our minds. Our mind is such a powerful tool, and we are underutilizing it because we're so full of distraction and discontent. And so taking 5 or 10 minutes and thinking, what am I going to think about today? How am I going to intentionally show up today? The best way I found is having little word reminders.
Are you feeling stuck, second guessing your dreams, or battling imposter syndrome? You're not alone. I've been there too. But here's the truth. Your vision, your purpose, your God-given gifts are meant to shine. That's why I created Sage Traverse Coaching, the space where faith, action, and momentum come together. Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or creative dreamer, I'll help you break through doubt, build confidence, and take real steps towards the life God has called you to. With personalized coaching, even though you could do this alone, you won't have to. Your calling is bigger than fear, and your next step starts now. Visit sageversepublishing.com to book a free discovery call and start moving forward, because your vision is worth it. Sageverse Coaching. Faith, action, momentum. Some of the best moments happen when we slow down, share stories, and connect with people around us. That's why I want to share something special with you. Soda beers. Soda beers isn't just another drink. It's crafted with intention. Alcohol-free, just bold, nostalgic flavors designed to bring people together. Whether you're celebrating, catching up with a friend, taking a moment to reflect, it's about savoring the experience. This brand is close to my heart, not just because I love the taste, but because it's part of my family story. And I love that it's always been about more than just a drink. It's about connection, community, and creating moments that matter. So if you're looking for something refreshing, something crafted with care, give soda beers a try. Pick up a can, share it with someone, and make a moment out of it. Just like this podcast is about walking in purpose, soda beers is about creating something meaningful. Something that brings people together. And that's worth celebrating. Cheers. So I had an idea. I love the idea of the t-shirts that you're putting on, and they're like those bold words that you love. And I think you're going to a conference. If you're speaking, the t-shirt wouldn't be the right thing. What if on your dress shirt you wrote confidence or authenticity, or you wrote those kind of words on your label so that you are choosing your words as well as your power suit?
That's a great idea. Taking those few minutes to be intentional. If you think this makes me feel confident, you show up to life. The thoughts you produce drive how you feel, and it's the feelings that drive your actions. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's because I'm thinking, but it's not producing the actions I want. I need to think confidently. Curiosity is good for creation and getting out of imposter syndrome, because it gives permission to fail. It gives you permission to not know everything, but you can still keep moving forward. Most people don't create because they don't know all the steps to get there. So they think they're going to just sit here and wait, and when all of it's revealed, they'll know. But creation comes in the doing. You could write it on your label. When I need confidence, I'm putting that on. You don't need it across your chest necessarily, but you do need to first become aware of your words, and then find those words that you can be intentional with.
I was listening to a podcast, Don't Miss Us, and Grace talked about you want to change the world, but you won't do the dish. When your mom asks you to do the dishes, then you don't do the dishes. So what in your life is the equivalent of your mom asking you to do the dishes?
I wanted to write a book. I wanted to finish a book. I wanted to have a book published. But you don't just wake up one day and the book's published. Every morning, wake up and become intentional with your words. When you do esteemable acts, it helps your self-esteem. Change your life in 15-minute increments. Writing my book, I set aside time to work on the book. And so I would write for 25 minutes a day. And then I would give myself permission. Do I want to write more? I would set my timer and do it even if I don't want it. The big challenge these days is we're accustomed to immediate gratification. We want the end result. Everybody wants to do the big thing, but nobody just arrives at the big thing. They discipline themselves to do the little things over time. There's Atomic Habits, that book. They talk about it's the little habits that you do. I've had to learn that. The other thing that would help some of your viewers and listeners, we're easily distracted. So, something that's really helped me is when I go into the kitchen, whether I set a timer or not, I don't leave the kitchen till I finish that task. Because what happens for me is I can start working on the dishes and then I'm like, oh, I need to go change the laundry. And then a phone call comes and then I need to send that email. 2 hours later, I haven't gotten anything done. I feel worthless and start comparing myself. Something that's helped me is time blocking. When I go into the kitchen, I focus on the dishes. Right now, I'm with you, focused, not worried about anything else. When I get done with this, I've got emails to take care of for work. I'm going to block that time and say for the next 30 minutes, I turn on Do Not Disturb on my phone so I'm not distracted. Inspiration happens in the doing. It doesn't just happen. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, I want to write a book. My idea is still forming and evolving. I didn't know how it was going to all show up, but I showed up to it. I did hire a coach to help me. I did invest in myself. I got an editor. Hiring people and having help is beneficial. I do good things here, but I can't do everything good, and learning what your strengths are. It's that showing up. I think of one friend in particular that she used to always say to me, if I just had an idea like you did, I could write a book. The idea comes in the doing. You have to do your dishes or set time aside to be creative, but it doesn't have to be all day.
I just heard something I hadn't heard this way before from a different podcast, Unshaken. Jared Halverson talked about how in our lives we should work like an atheist and pray like a saint. I feel like that's what I hear you saying, that it's not just going to come. Like it does come as you are working. And so you work like you're the only one behind all the things that you do. And as you are doing that, you're also, of course, with our prayers, that we are praying as saints. And what a powerful combination both of those things together can be.
Yeah. When I was depressed and full of anxiety 10 years ago, I prayed to God. He said, change your words and you can change your story. It wasn't just sit here and I'm going to fix you, Becky. I had to learn what that meant. It put me on a path. I've become a certified life coach, a participant in the National Speakers Association. I hired someone to help me with writing a book. The power of showing up is so important. You have to show up. But when you use prayer and you bring God into it, He opens doors and makes you more than you can be yourself. I love working with God and the creation process because He brings ideas and people into my life. But I can't just be on my knees praying every day. That's where I was before I found the power of words. Change all this stuff. How can I help the world when I can't keep my bathrooms clean, right? That's where I was at. I've had to learn by shifting my words. Actually, I see the world differently with new eyes. Part of living is cleaning the bathrooms. If you want a clean bathroom, part of living is I've got to eat and prep food at times. It is part of it. And then you start to realize there is enough time for everything. It's just you learn to manage it differently. I think it has to do with how you manage it in your thoughts.
Years ago, a speaker in a church said he had realized that he is spending too much time on his phone. Mm-hmm. And the way that he had wanted to address it was that he was going to put the things that he felt were feeding his soul, he was going to label those as nourish, and things that were a time suck as a waste of time. So when he pulled out his phone, he had to make the decision, okay, which one of these folders am I going to open now? I wonder if that would go into your first step of acknowledgement.
For sure. You want to gain awareness. Words do really matter. And then I want to become intentional to acknowledging the words that I want to put on. It's so funny you're bringing that up. Just the other day, I was reading this article on KSL. My husband got me this new alarm clock that lights up. It starts lighting up, so when you wake up, it's not so it's lit the room a little bit, and then it's like this light music or whatever. It's not right by my bed. I was reading this article about how a lot of people are going back to not having their phone as their alarm clock because they go to set it and then they get distracted, get on social media, and then all of a sudden they're going to bed. There's a lot of research out there that if you're looking at a screen before bed, your mind can't unwind. So for whatever reason, I'd gotten this alarm clock and now I've heard this and those words impacted me. I am going to move my phone. I don't need my phone by my bed anymore because I've got this new alarm clock. So I moved where I charge my phone. And I've been doing this for a week. The phone by my bed was a time suck, being a little intentional. Now, someone else might not need that, but that was a message for me. I had this alarm clock and I was starting to use it and I liked it. When I wake up, I don't check my phone. It's just becoming more intentional living and with the words we put in our lives. So I think there's lots of great things. And I love that you're sharing ideas as well. Hopefully people listening will take what they are learning and share these things. That's what I love is collaborating and connection because I'm learning new stuff every day. I'm going to try that.
Absolutely. So you walked us through the first 3 steps. Tell us about the rest of your steps.
After acceptance and the word accept, I teach the power of abundance. Abundance thinking is something we have to practice. Then the 5th word is action, taking action from a place of ease and curiosity instead of I have to do this. Nobody likes to feel like they have to do something. The next word is appreciate, learning how to stay in gratitude and appreciate what's going on. I always say, whatever you appreciate appreciates. Take care of it. It normally has more value. The way you appreciate life, it will appreciate you if you focus there. The last word is aspire. I believe the word effect is it's a circular motion up. When you aspire up, you're going to have a new challenge, a new thing, and then you get to start using those words again. So the words are the compass or the framework. When you aspire, you're like, okay, I've learned something. Once we climb one mountain, there's another mountain, a new challenge. You don't really meet too many people these days talking that say, life's great, no problems, no stresses. I mean, everybody has stresses. Some have stresses with teenagers, some have stresses with a spouse, some have mental health, monetary stresses. Aspire is, okay, now I've learned the tools for finding joy and creation in my life. Now I can keep moving forward. That's the framework of the book.
I know you said that you had hired an editor. Tell me about that process.
When I was a little girl, I'd always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to be a speaker, but I never pursued it. I let fear and doubt, imposter syndrome keep me from doing anything. I think that's why I found myself depressed and full of anxiety. I wasn't living my true purpose. When I started to become aware, God started to speak to me. We know that there's lots of words out there, but I started to look for the words that are intentional for me. If you start opening your mind, you will find those. So it has to do with acknowledging. Several years ago, I was wanting to start writing a book. I was at this event and on a panel talking about addiction. In between the panel sessions, we were pushing furniture. And the girl said, what do you do when I got vulnerable? You have to, if you want to be creative, let the world know what you want. I said, I want to write a book and I'd be a speaker and I'm working towards that, but I don't know what to do. This girl stopped what she was doing and she goes, do you know a lady named Connie Sokol? She's a local person here in Utah. I didn't know her at the time. She goes, I work for her. She's here at this conference. She started a 15-week course helping women, writers, social media, and speakers. Would you want me to introduce you to her? And it was like, yeah, I said what I needed and she works for her. She introduces me to her. I get introduced to Connie and I just knew that was my next step. It was one thing after another. I wish I could say it's a simple formula. I showed up for myself. I signed up for the class and she said, let's outline your book. I was on a walk one night thinking about the outline and it came to me. It was these 7 words, steps you've taken. Offer these steps. I can be passionate because it's something I've done. That was the start. I started outlining the book. I didn't finish with her. It was a long process. I was going to self-publish and then I found a publisher. Leadership Books published my book for me. Everything unfolded one step at a time. But I always kept my vision. I knew where I was headed and I set time aside to work on it. Maybe not every day, but like I set time aside each week, if that makes sense. It doesn't just happen, right? You've got a vision for something, so you put energy towards it. and bring God into it, and things start to unfold. After I wrote the whole book and outlined it, then I started asking other people that had published books, what do I do next? And they referred me to Eschler Editing. I reached out to them. They got me in contact with someone and it worked out. She became my editor. I got done with the book and I'd written it as a memoir. And then they said to me, what do you want from this book? A memoir. I said, I want to be on a stage with 5,000 people and I have them buying my book at the back. That was my dream. That's my goal. And I'm not to that point yet, but I'm in process. They said, you need to make it more of a self-help book, not just a memoir. That was hard because I thought I was done. They gave me a suggestion and I had to expand. It's been a slow process. I wish I could say I woke up one morning and it happened. It hasn't been that way. But I always keep my vision where I'm going. And then I use these principles. I acknowledge, I ask questions, I accept when I feel like things aren't going as fast as I want. I stay in abundant thinking. I practice these and it keeps me showing up for my dream. Most people quit too soon before the miracles happen because they're not seeing anything's happening the way they want. And so then they just, put their hands up.
I like so many things about your story. I like that this is your life. I like that it was like a memoir, but I think like those elements are still there, in that this is like your process and your story. But that you're using your process and your story to help others. And that's really powerful. I feel like that's what makes you a powerful speaker because you are doing this from a place of authenticity. Like you've written your life into these pages.
If you read my book, it's my story. You're going to hear about my depression. You're going to hear about my anxiety, starting my first business. You're going to hear about those things, but then you're going to get practical tools how you can take my story and make it your own story. Not do what I did, but you'll go, that's what's so powerful about stories, right? Is we hear someone's story and it causes us to think, oh, I've experienced that, or oh, I've done that, or I felt that way. That's a connection piece. That's why we love hearing good stories. And that's something I work on, sharing my authentic story. It goes back to what I said about the t-shirts. Maybe not everybody wants the t-shirts, but if I'm looking for a t-shirt, there's probably someone else. And there was other people looking for that same message. So the message I'm sharing might not resonate with the world. I don't need the world to hear it, but I look for opportunities to share it. And the people it resonates with, I trust that they're going to find it if I keep sharing it.
I have this philosophy and we'll share it and see what you think about it. It comes from the critical mass theory, which, as I understand it, once you reach 25%, then things start happening. When I was applying it to myself, you don't know if you're like at the 12th percent or if you're at the 24 and you're like this close to like when stuff is going to happen. If you're at the 24th and you quit, then you are like just a percentage away from like major things happening. What do you think about that?
I think there's so much truth in that. And the hardest thing is you don't know where you're at. The biggest thing I've learned is don't quit. Continue to try. I have an acronym that I teach and it's the word try. The T is today. The R is redirect and the Y is your thoughts. Today, redirect your thoughts like every day. Just to be honest with you, there are times right now where I'm at. I had set some goals and some things that I wanted to have happen in 2025 with my speaking. And becoming a known speaker isn't always easy. People, why should they hire you? And a lot of people, yeah, I want you to speak, but I don't have a budget. I'm looking for paid opportunities. And you apply like you're applying for a job. I get told no a lot, and that takes a toll on you. I still don't love rejection. I get told, oh, we loved what you do, but we decided to go a different way. When I hear that, my thoughts go, I'm not good enough. I got to do more. It's hard sometimes. It's hard because am I at 24.5% and almost to that critical mass where I'm going to be well known? Or am I only at 12% and I still have time to go? I pull myself back, become unattached to the outcome. I ask myself, what do I want to be doing? Does this still make me feel happy? And if the answer is still yes, then I'm going to still pursue it. The minute it becomes that I can change what I'm doing, that gives me a lot of freedom. What I've actually come to realize, a lot of people that are really successful and we look to them and think, if only I had what they did, guess what? They're still worried about stuff too. The people that get hired and get 50 paid speaking gigs last year, guess what? They're wondering if they're going to be able to produce that same amount this year. The person that wrote one book, they're going, can I write another book? I'm in that stage. I want to write another book, and I have a children's book that I want to do. And I'm just not quite ready to do it because I know the work and I struggle. But when I ask myself, do I want to do it? The answer is yes. I can't quit on that idea. I think a lot of times we get into pushing with willpower and we go faster than we have strength. What do I do today? I got to do the dishes and a little towards changing the world. God will open doors and windows for us. We don't have to force them, but we do have to show up for our dreams. It's not quite happening the way I thought, and the people I thought were going to be a yes, they're a no. Then I pull back and go, do I want to keep doing this? And it's, yeah, I'm still passionate. I give myself grace and I keep moving forward. It might be slower than I thought.
Yeah.
I like to tell people every day, you got to redirect your thoughts. You got to focus on the good and you're going to see more good. If you focus on the negative, you're going to see more negative. There's a lot of research in how we think about, we bring about. I'm just helping people become aware, and I've tried to make it simple with words. So
wonderful. I would challenge our listeners, what words are you going to put on yourself today? And if they're not surfing, then redirect your words. Becky, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me share this. It's always a privilege to share something I'm passionate about. People can find me at becomingwithbecky.com is my website. I actually have a free ebook that they can go and download. It's called The One Word Way. It's on one of the top tabs. It's a PDF. It's 3 words that you want to start changing in your life immediately. And they have to do with my book. They're just simple words that we all say, focusing on what you can do today instead of what you can't do. People can use it in work, in their personal life, teaching kids. It's just a simple reminder. You can start changing your life one word at a time. I hope people leaving today will feel hope and that they could do something, or maybe have thought of a phrase that they like and they're just going to start that in their life a little bit more, saying to themselves, instead of, I don't want people to leave, oh, what do I do next? There's nothing worse than leaving and feeling like your shoulders are droopy because you're like, I don't have time to do this. Just start becoming aware of the words you're putting on. Just notice, see how they make you feel. They can find me at becomingwithbecky.com. My book's on Amazon, The Word Effect, 7 Simple Words to Create Your Most Beautiful Life. There's a link on my website as well. I love what you're doing, helping people. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Keep creating, dreaming, and bringing your visions to life.